Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to a video, and today we're going to be checking out the RunCam Eagle 2 Pro. You can see just some of the specs on the side here. It takes 5 to 36 volts, and something special about this camera is that it is 16:9 and 4:3 switchable through the menu, and we have 170 degree field of view in 16:9 and then 4:3 of 140 degree field of view. So that's quite interesting that you can switch it digitally there. So if we open it up, take a look at what we have. Pretty similar to some of the other cameras. You can see we have just the 5 to 36 volts input here. We have the ground and then you have your video. This one does have audio because you can see here it does have a built-in microphone, so that's pretty cool. Then we have that VBAT Plus, which is your voltage sensing, so it does have the OSD to display your voltage, your name, and a timer on screen if you wish, for say if you don't have a OSD through your flight controller. Then you just have the ground OSD cable here to change the camera settings. So let's real quick just see what you get with this guy. Just have a little RunCam card as we get into it. Pretty much the standard stuff that you expect to get from RunCam cameras. We have a little aluminum metal bracket for mounting if you wish to use that. We've got the standard little OSD dongle cable to change the settings, which just plugs into this little port right here, which is nice. And they also give you a little extension cable right here if you want to plug this in and leave it on your quad so it can hang out, which is pretty cool. They include that. Just have some camera cables here. This is the main one you're going to be using with your power, video, audio, and voltage sensing there. And then you have a bunch of little screws and nuts to mount it depending on what your frame requires. And then they also do give you a separate casing, which is pretty cool. You see we have the separate casing right here for fitting it. Looks like it's got a little rubber backing on it. And this is a little bit different than the one that comes on it. You can see this one has the triple mounting holes. This one has this single with the locking one in the back. So it's a little bit different depending on what your frame requires, but otherwise they're the same exact size. And if we take a look at the lens up front, we do have double locking rings on the barrel, which is quite nice. And it doesn't actually state anywhere on the lens what size it is, like a 2.1 or 1.8. I think this actually is a 1.8 lens, because if we take a look compared to the Sparrow here, this is a 2.1 lens, it says on here. If you take a look, it is really, really wide, a lot wider than the Sparrow lens there. And from other videos I've seen recently that just came out on this, the field of view in 16:9 is 170 degrees, so it definitely is really wide. So I'm thinking this is a 1.8mm lens, which I actually am pretty excited about, because usually with 16:9 cameras I find that the vertical field of view is just too little. I just can't see where I'm going if I'm trying to fly fast. So hopefully the wider lens overall will yield a little bit more vertical and just more distortion on the sides, but I'm alright with that. So let me get this into a quad and we can start testing it. Okay, so here we just have the RunCam Eagle 2 Pro. This is the startup screen, and I'm just going to go around and move the pilot name and the timer and the voltage here. You can see you can set that all up through this menu here by pressing and holding up. And you can move these around wherever you want them. And here we have me going through the actual settings of the camera. Just changing the gain down a little bit, and I forgot to change the sharpness gain down, so it's really over sharpened throughout, but here I'm just changing it to the 16:9. You can see it rebooting, but the DVR is 4:3, so it is still squashed, but hopefully you can tell that the field of view is much wider. You can see half the motor, and now here I can't see any of the motor in the 4:3 mode. So just taking off, pretty much just stock settings. I did lower the AGC gain, and I forgot to, hopefully you can tell that the sharpening, it's super overactive, and there's a lot of shimmering and artifacting going on. I did forget to decrease the sharpening gains, so it doesn't look as bad as this if you do decrease that gain to about 3 or 4. But overall, the rest of the image is just stock, and it's looking very nice overall, very detailed with good wide dynamic range. Got some decently saturated colors. This is all stock from the camera. I did not change any of the settings. However, I am running a clear view, so it is just a little bit more enhanced with the sharpness and contrast. But overall, it's doing very well. It's sort of a half cloudy, overcast day, but definitely not too bad. Here I'm just looking up and down at the sky. When I do point back down, hopefully you can tell there is a tiny bit of a white flash issue that I had on the Eagle 2. However, because the gain is lower stock with this guy, and I lowered even more, it transitions very, very fast, and it's not an issue at all. And then when looking directly at the sun, it compensates really well, and you can see all the detail around it. Hopefully you can tell with this, I'm pretty sure it's a 1.8mm lens. The field of view is very large. I am in the 4:3 mode, so it's only 140 degrees wide, but the vertical field of view is definitely not too bad. I think I'm at about a 30-degree camera tilt here, but I have plenty of vertical field of view to look around and see where I'm going. Alright, so let's finish up my thoughts on the RunCam Eagle 2 Pro. So overall, I ran this in 4:3 mode instead of 16:9 mode because I forgot that when you run in 4:3, it is a 16:9 image, it just crops in there. So that's, I actually was getting a smaller field of view than if I was going to run with a 16:9. So if you are getting this, I would highly recommend using it in the 16:9 mode. So I basically am considering this like a 16:9 camera. However, if you want the 4:3 view, it is there, it's just cropped in. Of course, it is a CMOS sensor, and with the extra TV lines of it, I think it's 1200 TVL. This thing actually, when you hold it still and look at something, the picture on it is really nice. It's really nice and sharp. It's actually over-sharp in a lot of areas, and you get a lot of shimmering. However, you can just turn the gain settings down with the OSD control, and that'll reduce some of that. However, you can't really fully get rid of it. But when you lower it, it does get manageable. The picture and saturation overall was pretty beautiful. It definitely does have good wide dynamic range. If you're looking at something, it'll put the sky, you'll be able to see the sun and the ground. It won't blow them out. However, if you're moving around really quickly, like I find in a lot of quad flying, you're just, especially for freestyle, if you're flipping all over the place, that can sometimes sort of almost like confuse the camera and it'll stay blown out for a second, which was a big problem of this guy that I had, the RunCam Eagle 2. If I'd look up and then look down real quick, it would completely flash white, and you can help reduce that by lowering the AGC gain, I believe it is. You can lower that down. However, I did not have that problem with this one because I think it comes lower stock out of the box. The weight of the camera, just real quick, is 14.9 grams, so a 15 gram camera there, so it's definitely not too bad. It's not as heavy as this guy. This thing was like 19 grams or something with the metal case, but it still is 10 grams heavier than just, say, one of the normal micro cameras. And for me personally, since I do a lot of racing, I just think a micro camera is much better suited for that with the CCD sensor. It handles the light better and quick changes for me. The CMOS sensor with a higher TVL obviously does look a lot better, so I think these sort of cameras are more suited to slow freestyle flying if you're going to do that. Or maybe if you put this in a wing. I actually will probably put this guy in my wing because that's going to look really good just going around smooth. That's where the extra resolution will be nice to just sort of look around and explore. But for me, I don't really think it's very good for quads, especially for racing. So yeah, that's the end of the video. That's my review of the RunCam Eagle 2 Pro. There will be a link down below in the description if you're interested. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.